Hello, I'm just Johnny from Punkdev Studios, and I'm going to go over the various component changes that have occurred since the alpha versus the new updated beta components that will be closer in line with the Kickstarter release. First, I'm going to go over the Apprentice version components, and then I'll also show off the differences in the master components as well. I think you'll agree that these are a significant improvement from what they were before. Okay, one of the biggest changes between the alpha and the beta components is that the battle map, and this is the Apprentice version battle map, as you can see here, this is what it used to look like, and you had to also use terrain tiles in order to customize the battle map on each of the individual spaces. So what you'd end up with is a large number of tiles that would populate the entire landscape itself, and that would generally create a bit of clutter and finickiness when setting up the game itself. Now the new battle map, as you can see here, is significantly larger than the previous battle map. It has been fully illustrated, so now there is no longer a need to place tiles directly on the battle map. Although, you will note that there are some tiles which you can place in order to customize the wild terrain as well as the roads itself. So no longer is there a need to set up the battle map. Just a couple of tiles need to be placed on top in order to change things up. And as you can see, because of this big giant size difference, showing the difference between the two over here, these individual tiles are much larger, and therefore you can read the text more clearly that's on both the terrain spaces themselves and on the unit chits, which I'll show in a little bit. All right, next is going to be the differences between the individual components that get placed onto the battle map. For example, we have here the updated war camp pieces, which you can see the encampment version and the caravan version for player 1 and player 4 versus what they used to be, which is this circular piece right over here. And as you can see, the component pieces are much larger and the text on it is significantly enhanced. The coloring between the two is much more apparent. You'll be able to quickly comprehend which war camp belongs to which player and what form it is currently in due to this improved visibility and legibility. Now regarding the units, for example, you can see here the updated unit components, the blue versus the yellow. They still have the labels on them as well. And from what they were before, you can see this here is what the unit tokens were before, and this is what they are now. They're significantly larger. The text on them is further enhanced for legibility, and some of the extra wording on it has been removed for a cleaner overall visual appearance. Another big improvement between the alpha and beta components are the unit reference cards. So here is the alpha version of the Adept Archer's reference card, and here is the updated beta version. As you can see, it is significantly larger, way more legible to read the text and abilities that's on it. In addition, there's some quality of life changes. For example, there's better color coding of a unit's alignment. Also, there is an asterisk here to remind players that as a squad unit, they would lose 1 attack per turn whenever they make attack if they are damaged. So you can see between these two components, big improvement versus the alpha and the updated beta. Another major change between the alpha components and the beta components is with the initiative table. So this is the alpha version, which is, well, you'll see the difference. So alpha, and this here is the updated beta version. And this updated initiative table, not only is it larger to be easier to parse the details and information within it, but as you can see here in the corner, due to the updated rule within the Apprentice Rules, there is a dedicated space over here for the graveyard, which you send your army color tokens to when one of your units dies. Finally, here's the differences between the alpha dueling table and the updated beta dueling table. It's much larger, easier to parse the information. The number of steps involved in a duel has been reduced and streamlined so that players can enter a duel and navigate through the process in a much quicker, easier form. One last thing to know about the dueling table is that on its reverse side, You could see here that the war camp information, albeit condensed, is displayed here, given full details on the war camp stats for level 1 and level 2, and their abilities very briefly summarized for both level 1 and level 2. So now players don't have to go into the player guide in order to do a lookup for what their war camp can currently do. They could just reference this table here whenever a duel is not occurring. Okay, there's many other changes for the beta with significant improvements over the alpha version. To note, the player guide has been improved overall. It now includes tabs so that you know which section of the player guide you're in. In addition, the rulebook, as you can imagine, with all these updated components, the entire rulebook has been overhauled, further refined, simplified in the rules, as well as reducing the overall page count. So the whole experience between the alpha version of WarBonds and the beta version is going to be that much better for all players. And that's a brief summary of the big changes that have gone between WarBonds Apprentice version, between the alpha development, which was last year, and now the updated beta components, which will closely reflect what you'll see within the Kickstarter campaign.